We are John and Ellie, the Barefoot Doctors. Join us on this new chapter on our brand new Leopard 45 catamaran as we unearth the jewels of the Med. And the world. Because life is better barefoot.
Last shopping before we take the crossing from Mediterranean France to Corsica. So very exciting. Just have to have enough food.
And this is what shopping looks like because there's nowhere real close, like no shops, supermarkets or anything. So we have to take a trolley and we have to take the train and we go and get our groceries and then we come back and then we have to hump them all the way down the stairs as well and into the dinghy and then back to the boat.
Poor thing.
So just in case people think it's a glamorous life, this is the reality of sailing. Super you, it's the little things. It's close to the train station.
Well,
we're very excited.
The train station is right here, 20 yards behind. Supermarket right there. Isn't that good organisation?
So, a long-awaited time for us. Finally, we get to sail barefoot again. Oh, there's a clapping.
Okay guys, so this is the briefing before we go to Corsica. So there's our first crossing. The trip kind of overview is we are now in Villefranche, which is in Nice. We're crossing over to Corsica, that is 95 miles. As the weather, the wind's coming from the south at the moment, it's meant to give us a nice square beam reach across the 95 miles, so that should be both pleasant and easy.
What is the most common reason people fall overboard on a passage?
Peeing over the back of the boat.
So generally it's men?
Yeah. Seriously?
That's right, it's a man overboard?
That's right. Yeah, we're going to do 3-hour watches through the night. I'll do from 6 to 9, Nat does from 9 to 12, but I'll sit with you and make sure you're happy because you've got a lot to learn, basically everything. Then David can take over from 12 to 3, and then Elizabeth takes over from 3 to 6, and I go again in the morning.
We set off late in the afternoon so we can arrive in Corsica in time the next day. It's always exciting when you're undertaking a passage and you're not really sure how it's going to go, but we're as ready as we can be. We have prepared all our safety lines and prepared our life jackets, and we've also prepared good passage food, which is really important. And the crew is all prepped and keen and ready to go. And excitement builds as we raise all our sails. Preparing the code 0. And it's so lovely to see the wind filling the sails. What a beautiful feeling. All on Expedition Barefoot's first sea passage. Wish us fair winds.
Big waves.
.7 knots in 6 knots of wind. For a non-racing boat, that is pretty good when we're just sitting back doing very, very little. Auto helm, leave it alone and just cover the mile, guys. So we're sailing with the code 0 and the main, obviously full main. The wind's only 5, 6 and 7 knots at times, but the boat's going along really nicely. We're on about 60 degrees apparent wind and we're doing 5 knots at the moment, but we've been doing 4 knots in 5 knots of wind and 5 knots in 6.5 knots of wind, stuff like that. I mean, I think that's pretty impressive speeds for a 45-foot, 15-ton boat. So good on you, Leopard.
So what's for dinner tonight on passage?
We have delicious garlic bread and stew. You know what's in it? Vegetable and
Beef.
beef. Oof. Lovely. The creeping of the...
Yeah, I thought you were going to grease it.
we were gonna grease that.
I am going to grease it. I just haven't got around to it. Been a little bit busy.
Have you?
I have. Okay.
So what are you up to, John?
I am putting grease into this squeaking gooseneck. This pin runs all the way from there all the way down to there, and the boom rotates on that pin, and somewhere in here there's a bit of dry metal that's creaking. So we need to get grease into that pin.
And then that will stop the creaking.
When you're on watch, what do you need to do? Obviously look for ships. You'll see the lights on the ships, obviously, because daytime you can still see the ships. There's one there. And also you can see them on the AIS. So
That one's right there, yeah.
So these little green triangles are boats, and if you click on the boat, it can tell you actually what boat it is and how fast it's going. Do you want me to teach you how to set the sails briefly?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're sailing along, at the moment we've got 5 knots of boat speed and 7 knots of wind, and that's pretty good. So that means the sails are set pretty well. If you find the boat's dropping off the speed and it's only doing 4 knots in 7 knots or 3.5 knots, then either the sails are too close in or too far out.
Okay.
The way you tell it, for always, the most important sail is the front sail, which is a Genoa. Actually, in this case it's a code 0. And you see the telltales at the front of the sail. These are little bits of cotton really, on both sides of the sail. So the wind cuts past the front edge of the sail, and both those little telltales fly either straight back if it's well set, or one will flap around and be wrong, or the other one will. So if the front one that's facing you goes up, you need to pull the sail in a bit.
If it goes up.
Or down, or if it's not flying horizontally.
Okay. Which it doesn't consistently fly horizontally, right?
No, if it
kind of flows.
If it drifts
like
a little,
it's doing right now.
Yeah, if it drifts a little bit, that's fine. But you see the ones at the back are flapping.
Yeah, I do see that.
Okay, so this means we need to let the sail out a bit. Okay.
So if the front ones are flapping, you pull it in. If the back ones are flapping, let it out.
Yeah. Or you change direction of the boat.
So what do you think of the training, Ellie?
The training is going well. I'm having a refresher myself because it's been a little while since I've done it on the Leopard. It's always good to do a refresher anyway. Even, each time you do a little bit of a refresher, you pick up more and more from experienced captains like John.
So Ellie, what are you making?
I'm making pikelets because it's passage food and it's warming when you have a cup of tea or a coffee, and they are yummy. And they're kind of like pancakes for those people that don't know what they are. That fella's ready to come off. That one, the first few are always a dud. So that's the rules.
The duds still taste good though, so they'll be eaten. So Natasha, your shift's just starting. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking this is pretty awesome. We just had a beautiful sunset. John and Ellie instructed me very clearly on my duties as I spend 3 hours of the night here keeping watch and adjusting sails, so I'm pretty comfortable. Pretty excited to see the beautiful stars and to get to beautiful Corsica.
What are your thoughts?
It's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, I don't think the GoPro can capture that, or the iPhone camera or anything like that, but there's absolutely beautiful stars everywhere since we're not near any land. It's been really quiet. We passed one cargo ship. He was about half a mile from us, behind us. We contacted him prior to getting closer to him to make sure he could see us on the map. The winds have varied a lot. They've gone all the way from 6 knots to 10 knots, but nothing crazy. We've been going at an average speed of, I'd say, 6 knots, because we're going from 5.5 to 6.5. Gone over a few waves, but the sea's relatively calm. I've adjusted the code 0 maybe 2 times. The mainsail's been looking good, and feel pretty good. Cold and windy, but we're on our way.
Hey, so I'm excited to do my first night watch on my first passage, like major passage, at night. And I wonder what it's gonna be like. Hopefully it'll be interesting. Well, not too interesting, but hopefully it will be cool. The best. My final thoughts on the night passage. Well, I just ended my shift and I'm making tea for Ellie and John. It's cool. I mean, it's a bit rough this evening. It's awesome. I really enjoy a night passage. I really enjoy the stars, the silence, the wind, the creek, you know, the sound of the waves and all this stuff. It's a cool experience. It's kind of like camping, but more wet, I guess. It was a bit chilly because you're getting constant wind. Overall, awesome.
Alright folks, we're on the passage from Nice in France over to Corsica, and I'm on watch. So we're doing 3-hour shifts. I've taken over from David, and Nat did before that, and John basically has been covering everyone's shifts just to make sure everything's a-okay, as the captain does with the new boat. And we're making pretty good time right now. We're making good speeds. We're about between around the 7 knots, and we've got about 11-12 knots of wind, so we're doing good time. So we should be there in about 5 hours or so, weather pending as usual. David just left. He's gone down for a sleep. He wants to come back for the sunset, but before he left he made us a lovely cup of tea and some banana bread that I baked for passage eating. So the sun should be up in about an hour and a half-ish, and so that I'm really looking forward to. There's nothing like the sunset or the sun coming up while you're on passage. It's pretty windy. It's got a bit of a chill in it. Lots of boats around the place, but they're mainly cruise liners. So they get out of our way pretty fast. Yeah, it's been fairly uneventful so far, which is really good.
So up ahead you can see the code 0, and here we have the speed. We're doing 7 knots at the moment and 10 knots of wind, and that's been fairly consistent. So when we're on passage, we always have a spotlight at the steering station, as well as a headlight or a small torch to carry around with us. Elizabeth's got that one at the moment, and that's about it really. Cups of tea and coffee as we need it through the night, and everything is here. We don't sail with this red light on. That's only purely for the filming of this. We would normally sail with that off, which looks like that, because even the red light, it's meant to be better for night vision, but it's bright and you can't see in the distance as well. As we're sailing along, everything's very dark and dull, and that way you see ships further away, and you've got much better night vision. And first landfall on Expedition Barefoot. We were really fortunate to be able to keep the code zero up for most of that journey. As we approached the coast of Corsica, however, the wind headed us and meant that we had to take down the code zero and replace it with the Genoa to go upwind. The technique we use is to roll the Genoa out in front of the code zero, which blankets the sail, reducing the amount of force on it so it can roll in much more easily and with a lot less flapping. This is a racing technique, but is also very useful for cruisers.
The course, and you'll get to Corsica, of course.
Corsica. We've arrived.
Oh, here we go.
So as we picked up the mooring, the commercial operators of these boys came to give us assistance as well as take our money. We were also then given a wonderful display by a vintage racing yacht on how to manage the boat without an engine, and these guys sailed backwards and forwards across the bay at quite significant speeds and did some wonderful tacks and maneuvers right around our boat. It was quite impressive. This is a charter boat and they take people out for day trips every day in Calvi if you're there without your own boat. Look at this great tack. They did really well. And they sail off into the sunset. Passage wine. Cheers, guys.
Yeah,
First
passage drink.
ocean crossing, or
Woohoo!
sea anyway.
Clink.
We made it. Arrived. If you have liked this episode, hit the like button, subscribe for free, and ding the dong so you don't miss your fix of the next exciting episode. Love and health from the Barefoot Doctors.